Level 1. It starts softly. The kind of heat that feels like a friend. A gentle afternoon on the beach. The warmth of sunlight through a cafe window. A day that smells of sunscreen and summer. For centuries, humans worshipped warmth. Cold was the enemy. It starved, froze, and silenced. Fire meant survival. Sunlight means life. Even now, warmth equals comfort. We move toward it, plan vacations around it, chase it in winter. At 25 degrees Celsius, your body hums in balance. Muscles loosen, blood flows easily. It's the kind of heat that poets call golden, that cities call perfect. But equilibrium is fragile. Each added degree changes the script: how clouds form, how crops drink, how lungs exchange air. And because it feels gradual, no one notices the line between pleasant and dangerous. In Seville, Spain, summer tourists sip iced coffee under wide umbrellas, while locals vanish indoors by noon. In Karachi, markets open before sunrise and close before afternoon prayer. Heat changes schedules before it changes lives. Every civilization learns it differently, through siestas, shaded courtyards, and stone houses built to breathe. That's how the first heat defense began, architecture as survival. But as the world warms, old designs meet new extremes. The heat we once invited in is learning to overstay. Level 2. At 35 degrees, the body begins to negotiate. Heart rate rises, sweat becomes constant, salt building on skin like dust. The air feels heavier, slower, harder to move through. Farmers in India pour water on their heads between rows of wheat. Delivery riders in Manila tie soaked towels around their necks. Construction workers in Riyadh wear cooling vests under uniforms. Batteries humming against their ribs. It feels manageable until humidity arrives. When the air is thick with water, sweat no longer evaporates. Your body traps its own heat. It's like breathing through a warm towel. You stop thinking clearly. Your pulse races. Dehydration begins quietly. A tightening in the temples, a dry tongue, a fatigue that feels like gravity. Hospitals call it heat stress. It doesn't sound lethal, but it is. Every summer, outdoor workers collapse on job sites, athletes faint during marathons, and elderly residents die in apartments with closed windows. In Tokyo, office workers retreat into convenience stores for air conditioning between meetings. In Texas, delivery trucks become ovens. In Paris, public fountains turn into temporary clinics, citizens dunking feet, necks, wrists, just to stay conscious. At this level, heat becomes personal. It stops being a number on a weather app and starts being the reason someone doesn't make it home. Level 3. There's a hidden number in thermodynamics. 35 degrees Celsius wet bulb temperature, the temperature where your body's cooling system, no matter how strong, stops working. Even in the shade, even with wind, even if you're young and healthy and drenched in water. At this level, your sweat can't evaporate. Your core temperature rises past 40 degrees Celsius. Organs begin to fail, not from infection or injury, but from physics. It's not theoretical. In Jacobabad, Pakistan, and parts of the Persian Gulf, this number has already been reached. For hours at a time, the atmosphere becomes uninhabitable for humans. A silent, invisible threshold of extinction. Residents survive by pattern, not comfort. They sleep through daylight, work before dawn, after dusk. Children carry wet cloths on their heads to school. Electricity grids groan as fans and air conditioners run non-stop. When the power cuts, the city holds its breath. Scientists call it the wet bulb crisis. Locals just call it summer. The human body isn't built for this. Blood thickens, cells misfire, confusion sets in. Some die standing, too disoriented to notice it's happening. There's no warning, just silence, dizziness, collapse. At this level, shade means nothing. Only shelter matters. And even that depends on whether the power stays on. Level 4. Concrete doesn't forget. It holds sunlight like a grudge. At night, when people expect relief, the city exhales everything it's stored. Urban heat islands are modern deserts, built not from sand, but from glass and steel. Roads shimmer. Buses radiate, air conditioners roar, each one trying to cool a room while heating the street outside. The cure feeds the disease. Cities like Phoenix, Delhi, and Cairo never really sleep anymore. Their temperatures drop by only a few degrees after midnight. At 2 a.m., it can still be over 40 degrees Celsius. Hospitals fill, not with the old or the sick, but with the working class. Delivery drivers, janitors, cooks, people who can't choose their exposure. Architects experiment with reflective paint, white rooftops, vertical gardens, and shaded corridors. But most buildings were designed decades ago when heat was predictable. Now, Their walls trap it like glass jars under the sun. In some neighborhoods of Mexico City, temperatures are 10 degrees higher than in nearby parks. That difference decides who survives and who doesn't. Cities, the greatest symbol of progress, have become heat amplifiers. And at this level, air conditioning is no longer comfort, it's triage. Level 5. At 45 degrees, civilization begins to sweat too. Roads soften. Asphalt ripples. Steel rails expand until trains derail from heat alone. Airports ground flights because runways turn sticky under jet engines. Bridges creak, deform, and lock. Transformers explode as millions of homes reach for the same cold breath. Power grids collapse like overheated lungs. It's already happening. In 2023, parts of China recorded over 52 degrees Celsius. Highways melted. Vehicles sank into the tar. In Kuwait, birds fell mid-flight. In the US, Phoenix hit 31 consecutive days above 43 degrees Celsius. Mail trucks, without air conditioning, reached interior temperatures above 70 degrees Celsius. People adapt in fragments. Blackout shelters open in malls and metro stations. Hospitals run diesel generators, rationing fuel hour by hour. Firefighters spray overheated buildings with water to prevent spontaneous ignition. At this level, heat isn't just a number, it's an event. It causes flight cancellations, stock market dips, and nationwide emergency declarations. Economies bend under it, infrastructure fails from it, and the modern world, built on precision, suddenly remembers how fragile it truly is. There's irony here. The machines we made to master nature now collapse under the same sun that powered them, a civilization overheating in its own design. Level 6. By now, heat has stopped being local, it's global, indiscriminate, permanent. Forests ignite without flame. Trees combust from dryness alone. Peat bogs, once carbon vaults, exhale what they stored for millennia. In Canada and Siberia, wildfires burn areas larger than countries. Smoke drifts thousands of kilometers, darkening skies on other continents. The carbon they release feeds the next heat wave. Feedback loops, nature's version of suffocation. Coral reefs bleach to bone. Oceans lose oxygen as surface temperatures climb. Fish migrate toward cooler poles, leaving empty nets in the tropics. Farmers lose crops not to drought, but to heat itself. Pollen that won't form, seeds that won't sprout. In villages across East Africa, herders watch their cattle collapse mid-graze. The soil is too hot to hold life. Water holes dry faster each year. Migration begins, not as politics, but as survival. Humans adapt like rivers. They move where they can still flow. People build underground homes in desert towns. In Australia, architects carve air tunnels through houses. In Japan, cooling centers open to anyone, no questions asked. In Pakistan, community fridges appear on streets, stocked by strangers, emptied by neighbors. But for the ecosystems that can't move, there's no adaptation, just retreat. Every forest fire leaves ash that reflects sunlight, cooling the earth briefly. Then the carbon beneath it heats it even faster. Nature gasps and coughs in cycles it no longer controls. At this level, extinction isn't an event, it's a process. Slow, quiet, relentless. The earth doesn't explode, it just exhales, a little heavier each year. Level 7. The sea was our first shelter. It buffered storms, swallowed carbon, and carried our waste away. But no sponge stays dry forever. Over 90% of the planet's excess heat now hides beneath the surface. Each decade, the ocean grows warmer, 0.1 degrees Celsius, 0.2 degrees Celsius. Numbers that sound small until you remember the mass of water behind them. A 0.1 degrees Celsius rise in the upper layers equals the energy of billions of nuclear bombs. That warmth doesn't stay quiet. It climbs upward. It fuels typhoons, hurricanes, cyclones that used to come once a century and now arrive every few years. It melts ice shelves from below, the unseen assault that breaks Antarctica from the bottom up. Coral reefs fade from color to skeleton. Fishermen in the Philippines return with empty nets, their boats gliding over graveyards of bleached coral. In the Caribbean, divers swim through silence. No fish, no flash, no life. At this level, the ocean is both patient and vengeful. It holds heat long after the air cools, then releases it slowly, guaranteeing that even if emissions stop, the fever will linger. This is the feedback loop. Warm oceans melt ice. Less ice means darker seas. Darker seas absorb more sunlight. More sunlight means more heat. It's a chain reaction without an off switch. People notice in fragments. Farmers lose coastal land to saltwater intrusion. Cities like Jakarta and Miami sink faster because the ground beneath them softens as seas rise. And when storms form now, they feed on energy that never should have existed. Every hurricane carries the memory of the heat that made it. Level 8, 50 degrees Celsius. At that point, life outdoors isn't about endurance. It's about gambling with biology. In India's wheat belt, harvests shrink as pollen fails to form. In Iraq, canals dry up before reaching the fields. In Sudan, farmers walk 12 kilometers for water that used to be 5 minutes away. Plants don't die of heat alone. They die of exhaustion. Photosynthesis breaks down beyond 40 degrees Celsius. Crops stop growing, stop breathing, stop feeding the billions who rely on them. In 2022, heat waves in India and Pakistan destroyed over a third of wheat yields. In California, thousands of cows died in their pens before slaughter, not from disease, but from the air itself. Grain reserves dropped, prices spiked. Famine crept forward in silence. Governments call it food insecurity. Farmers call it failure. The rest of the world calls it higher prices at the grocery store. But it's deeper than economics. This is when heat begins rewriting human geography. Families migrate not because of war, but because fields no longer answer the plow. In sub-Saharan Africa, children grow up knowing seasons not by rainfall, but by hunger. In Central America, entire villages move north when the land stops producing maize. Technology tries to fight back. Heat-resistant seeds, vertical farms, irrigation drones. But biology has limits, and so does infrastructure. At this level, survival depends on shade, not soil. Level 9. The sky stops behaving like the sky. Jet streams, those high-altitude rivers of wind, weaken and wobble. They used to circle the planet neatly, keeping weather predictable. Now they twist, stall, trap heat domes in place for weeks. Europe, once mild, now sees Saharan summers. Canada burns, while southern cities drown. It's chaos with a pattern. Where the air used to move freely, it now loops and lingers. That's why Phoenix can stay above 43 degrees Celsius for a month, while China floods under endless rain. Weather becomes a mirror of imbalance. Drought and deluge trade places every few years, never giving crops time to adapt. Rain arrives not as drizzle, but as disaster. In 2021, Germany saw entire villages erased in minutes, not from rivers overflowing, but from the sky collapsing. At the same time, Madagascar faced the opposite. 4 years without significant rain. People ate cactus and clay to survive. When the atmosphere breaks, it doesn't roar, it suffocates. And every degree of ocean heat feeds it more. Scientists call these tipping points, but they're not points, they're landslides. Once triggered, they don't stop. The Arctic melts faster than models predict. Methane leaks from thawing permafrost, thickening the blanket that caused the melt. A planet-sized feedback loop, devouring its own stability. At this level, heat stops being weather. It becomes architecture, the framework that decides who eats, who moves, who survives. Level 10. This is where humanity meets its ceiling. Not in firestorms or explosions, but in stillness. Average temperatures climb past 60 degrees Celsius in some regions. Tropical zones become unlivable. Machines overheat faster than people. Metal burns on contact. Power grids can't keep up. Transformers melt. Water boils off storage tanks. Hospitals, prisons, schools. Every enclosed space becomes a slow cooker when power fails. Some people go underground. In the Gulf states, entire workforces shift to night hours. Dubai builds air-conditioned bus stops, cooled pavements, and shaded tunnels. In Qatar, labor laws ban outdoor work past 10 a.m., not for ethics, but for survival. Others move north. Scandinavia, Canada, and Siberia become population magnets. Cities like Oslo and Vancouver grow as equatorial regions empty out. The age of climate migration begins in earnest. Technology fights to buy time. Geoengineering projects scatter aerosols into the upper atmosphere, reflecting sunlight. Some nations experiment with cloud seeding, artificial rain, ocean mirrors, but for every degree gained, another slips through the cracks. At this level, the Earth's energy balance has tipped. Water vapor, the most powerful greenhouse gas, thickens the atmosphere. Rainforests turn from carbon sinks into carbon sources. The planet begins to glow faintly in the infrared. A fever with no immune system. Survival becomes mathematical. Every breath, every sip, every meter of shade is a calculation. The concept of outside becomes historical. Level 11. Fast forward 5 billion years, the story repeats, but this time, not by human hand. The sun swells as its hydrogen runs dry. It burns helium now, growing brighter, angrier, larger. Mercury disintegrates first. Venus melts into vapor. Then comes Earth, The oceans boil into steam. Mountains soften into rivers of molten rock. The atmosphere, once blue and alive, peels away into space. No rescue, no refuge. The same star that once fed life devours it, atom by atom. Astronomers predict the sun's outer layer will reach Earth's orbit. Our planet won't explode. It will dissolve. Continents will vanish without a sound. All that remains will be dust orbiting a red giant, glowing for a brief moment before drifting cold. It's not punishment. It's physics. Stars burn to live, and in dying they take their worlds with them. For a few million years, the sun's corpse, a white dwarf, will shine softly like an ember in the dark, and the atoms once inside oceans, trees, and people will drift into the void, waiting to be reborn. The cycle ends where it began, in light. Level 12. Far beyond the end of stars lies something quieter. Trillions of years pass. Galaxies dim. Black holes evaporate into nothing. Every particle spreads wider, slower, colder. Entropy wins. No more gravity strong enough to pull things together. No stars left to ignite. No difference between day and night, because light itself will be stretched thin across eternity. But this isn't a cold death. It's heat death. Not burning, but balance. When everything reaches the same temperature and no energy can move anymore, it's the universe's final exhale. No explosions, no collapse, just stillness. The same physics that warmed the first star and built the first dawn will quiet themselves at last. Every photon spent, every atom idle, every vibration asleep. It's not a tragedy, it's completion. The heat that once created everything finally runs out of work to do. It began with warmth, the kind that felt safe, sunlight on skin, fire in winter, comfort in balance. And it ends with warmth stretched to silence. A universe so even, so perfect, that nothing can move.